Now we're going to move into the next category of project, that's alternative modes of travel. And this is really an area where you'll see a lot of the BATMA influence in the whole offering of programs today. The first of these is the Buck Shuttle. If you'll recall, BATMA was created to actually launch the shuttle. That was the primary project day one when we started. This is the current route for the shuttle system. It has been up and operational since 2003, and it's another great example of how the organizations are working together. BATMA identified the need, came up with the project, identified all of the federal sources to come to the service, and then needed a local partner in the community improvement district to provide that local matching source to leverage those federal dollars. So that has been from day one. It started on the BATMA side, brought in the CID, and today we still manage the operation on a day-to-day basis, and the CID funds the operation. So you can see here we have recently made some service changes to it. It's all focused in commuter hours. We offer service every 10 minutes and connect the major office towers to the MARTA stations in the area. The point of this service is really last mile connectivity. If you have people trying to use MARTA rail to get to the community, they can't get to many parts of it without a walk that's too long for them to actually want to do, particularly if you're on the Piedmont Center, Security Center side of the community. So we're really focusing on making sure that we have that connectivity throughout the entire area so people can choose to take transit and have it as a viable option. Mobility services, this is really all transportation demand management programs. So this is working on the side of, if you think about supply and demand, we're working on demand here. These are the programs that BATMA does to work with the employers and property managers and directly with the commuters in the community to get people out of their cars. So these are kind of the programs that they're definitely not the sexy ones of our presentation here today, but the next slide I want to show you why they're important. These are the typical results out of these programs. Any given year, we typically are reducing 18 million vehicle miles of travel off the road. That's equivalent to 729 trips around the world. That's a lot of traffic coming off the road. 30 tons of emissions coming out of the air. That's 6 elephants out of the air. That's a lot of impact when you think about it. So a lot of times these programs are sort of viewed as either for those people or not for us, or that there's not a lot of people who will take advantage of them, but they are tremendously successful when you look at the overall offering of the community.
I don't know about you, but I'm really nostalgic for those 6 elephants that used to float around. Here is another project that we are engaged in. A commute option is also taking transit. For years, the community has looked at how we can create a connection over Georgia 400 that is south of the Buckhead Loop up here and north of Peachtree down here. And concepts were tested about whether or not this would be a road. It would be a limited access bridge that the Buck Shuttle could use along with pedestrians. And it's been kicked around for not years, I think decades. Is that right, Doug? All right, decades. Well, we finally got to a point where we agreed on what it ought to be and how it would be funded. And the CID played a significant role in figuring out how we could layer different sources of revenue in order to make this happen. An FTA, Federal Transit Administration grant to MARTA of $11.1 million. The City of Atlanta put $1.5 million into the project. We were able to get the State Road and Tollway Authority through Georgia 400 tolls. May they rest in peace. Dedicated to this, the CID has dedicated $1.2 million to this, and MARTA has put $7.7 million from their capital improvements program into this. And we are under construction right now. This is the view of what the facility will look like from behind Tower Place, looking across to the east. And then a view from the Stratford side, looking across Georgia 400. What I would like to point out here is that what we are creating is real connectivity of both of the real estate areas on either side of 400 to each other, but also a brand new entrance into the Buckhead station there. If you use the train as I do, I'm always really careful to get in the last train as I'm coming north, because that's where the only exit to the station is. If people are in the front of that train, they've got to walk all the way down to get there, and then even further to get to the exit up on Peach Street. So this is going to turn a lot of properties on this side and this side in Buckhead into transit-oriented development. Well, if you take a look at this facility right here, this bridge that's under construction right now, you want to make sure that as many people who are proximal to that have the opportunity to get to it. So one thing we looked at is, as we looked at this big super block bounded by Peach Street, Lennox Road, Buckhead Loop, and Stratford and Georgia 400, all of these properties have been built and sort of faced out towards those roads, and their backs are to each other, and there really isn't any rhyme or reason to the spaces between the buildings and how they relate to each other. So we took a look at this with planners, designers, and the people who own the real estate in this area, and said, is there going to be a way for us to cooperate over time to create pedestrian connectivity in here, so that people who work in these office buildings, who stay in the hotels, have an opportunity to, in a safe and attractive way, walk to this area, but also walk to other places in here, and the Fifth, and the Lennox. So this is one of those plans where we put a lot of people to work and collaborated with the private property owners to come up with something that would be feasible and that we could do in relatively short order. This is an example of the kind of, funny if you could go back. This is the existing condition and sort of an example of how buildings relate to each other in this area, where you've got everybody turning their backs on each other, and you've got this unutilized space right here. Well, this is a great connection from where I'm standing right now to where you may want to be over this way. And so they were able to look at this and say, you know, you really could turn this into not only a sidewalk that gets you there, but a really attractive area where you could start thinking about putting in additional uses and creating retail space, restaurant space out of some of the parking decks that are in that area. So this is the kind of creative thinking that we've gone through to try to think about how to maximize, optimize the opportunity when we're creating connectivity in this area. Another place where we want to make sure that people have alternative modes of transportation to their feet is in the Buckhead Village area. So we have a Streetscapes program in the Buckhead Village area where the CID has agreed to put money into enhancing the streetscapes, partnering with the property owners there so that we're sharing costs to do it, but we also were able to get the Woodruff Foundation to commit $2 million to match the CID's commitment of $2 million to go into this area. And this is the kind of transformation that we could see in this area over time when we initiate this program, which will be in the not too distant future. And this is the kind of environment that we're going to be creating, which really is in scale with the development that's there right now and what we believe will be the future development coming to this area.